Welcome to Guys Like Us. If you are new to this podcast, this is a podcast about the things you start thinking about when you're in, and we got to admit it, midlife. You will hear some killer stories about family, leadership, relationships, friendships, fun nights out. In short, the things that shaped us and continue to move us. And we hope there's something for you in there as well. My name is Mark. I'm joining from you in New York. And I'd love to welcome Paul to the podcast. Hey, Paul.
Hey, Mark, how's it going? What a beautiful intro. I'm all tuned in. I'm all tuned in for today's episode
I had to
about
center myself.
money.
Yes. A complex topic if there ever was one. Before we get into it, how are you? How was your weekend? I think you were doing some epic shit.
I came back from a 3-day, I'm just back from a 3-day bender in the mountains.
That's right. Okay.
Just basically, skiing from 9 o'clock in the morning, beautiful blue skies. We did some beautiful ski touring. And then celebrating the fact that we had such a beautiful day in nature with what the nature provided us with when you make, grapes until the sun went down and further to go home basically then in ski boots 3 nights in a row. So I haven't done this in a while, and I don't think I would have been able to do it any longer. I think I left it all there.
So, but I mean, a 3-day bender was a proper one. So well
yeah,
done.
it's a proper bender. I mean, we got also, you could tell we got older, and it was a little bit more civil than in the past. But this is also the reason I'm having a nice, what is it called? It's a Yogi tea, biologisch Seelenbalsam, balm for the soul. That's kind of what I'm having.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's your sponsor? My God. Well, I'm jealous. You were in Lech.
That is my sponsor. Yeah, I saw yours before. It looked a bit more interesting than mine.
That's true.
Who are you sponsoring?
I'm drinking the rest of my family's wine. This Palmanock minimalist Chardonnay.
Oh, this one is my favorite.
Yeah.
Chardonnay.
Yeah.
Oh,
beautiful.
Very nice.
Very nice flavor.
Too
much sugar. It's okay.
Yeah.
And
we had some nice wines on the weekend, man. I should send you some photos.
Oh, really?
Some nice big bottles. Yeah, like a 6-liter baby of Riesling Smaragd. Very nice.
Wachau. Okay, great.
Yeah, I know.
Well, just make me a little bit more
better
jealous
when the bottle's bigger. I sent you a picture. It's a bit ridiculous, but it was fun.
Can I tell you the highlight of my weekend, which is just sad and appalling?
Yeah.
I as opposed to last weekend, which was a bit of my kind of a launch bender. The highlight was watching F1 with Brad Pitt last night because the kids went to bed early, and that was.
And how was it?
It's like when you know exactly what you're watching. There's a formula, and yet I think that's the credit the movie deserves. It's like you still feel it. You're still like raw. The filming of it's awesome. It's totally unrealistic and crazy.
Okay.
But is it fun? Absolutely. Is it
okay?
Like...
I thought about watching it on the plane back from South Africa. And then it was too long for me. It's like I want to be asleep by the time this thing is in second gear. But
it's the kind of movie that deserves a big screen.
That's also what I thought.
And your headphones,
to be honest.
the F1 screens are like bananas. So it's cool.
Yeah. Okay. So, awesome.
Well, and it's bougie, and it shows about all of the kind of good life and all that kind of fun stuff.
I had enough of that. I really have to say. Enough of the good life in the last 3. The good life in the bougie kind of sense that you're almost a little bit embarrassed to talk about.
Yeah,
exactly. To cut some things out.
Well, I'll cut you off exactly. From your
Thank you so much, because it was lots of fun, and I enjoy this once a year very responsibly. No one got hurt. All is good. Just want to say this for our dear audience here.
Good. I know they care about that, and I'm glad that you know that.
Exactly. And I want to get some hate comments on this shit. Yeah.
Well, I mean it's a nice dovetail between watch F1 cars and skiing,
splurging in the mountains,
in Alpine skiing. Exactly.
Talking about champagne problems, quite literally, actually, quite figuratively.
This conversation's about money, and, it's funny, I was thinking, gosh, there's so many dimensions into this, and, it's January, people are saving, people are asking themselves, "Okay, like, where do I wanna be in a year from now?" And I think and people are making big, bold moves, some aren't, it's an interesting time in the world, and I wanna start and ground us in this conversation by, something I've been meditating on, which is kind of an Uber question about when is enough enough, and that's only one part of this story. Okay, so I was thinking about a way into this conversation, and I was reminded that about 2.5 months ago, I was out in Silicon Valley and meeting a colleague for breakfast, and it was one of those places where he was sharing with me about 10, 12 million to billion exchange hands per day on any given day there. And,
which is
he knows
crazy.
it's crazy. Yeah,
That's that
exactly. It's kind
famous
of
hotel, right? This
the
this
Rosewood.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. And as we're sitting there enjoying, like $40, avocado toast and this kind of stuff, he's saying, you knew my background and you knew I like startups and that kind of thing. It's like, Mark, you know, your thing and just Europeans in general, what's funny about them? For them, 100 million is enough. I was like, when they when they got 100 million,
Absolutely. I agree.
yeah,
I agree.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
less, I
When
would
they get
say.
100
Yeah.
million, yeah, we're gonna get
Mm.
there. But he said, when they get 100 million, they just want to fuck off, to their chateau, get their castle, do the same Marit stuff, etc. Americans, when they get to 100 million, you know what they think? How do I get to a billion? And they focus all their time on that. When they get to a billion, that's not enough. And then they really want to thinking, okay, like once it's billion, and you want the tens to the 20s, they're really thinking about the like next level moves and investments in generational wealth. And he turned to me, he said, the cost of doing that isn't really understood. Like already what it takes to get to 100 million as a startup founder is an unbelievable taxing kind of thing. When you decide to go from 100 million to a billion, you're not seeing your family. You're not doing much else than that. That is now your life, and then elsewhere. He's like, I really admire the some of the European mindset, and then he said, and it brought up in some other questions, like and he was very honest. It's like that's not really in me. So,
Mm.
and we should, kind of kick off this conversation by saying this is one of this is a privilege to say the least between us, just like that we're even talking about that, even though I think none of us have nowhere near that kind of net worth. But as we're kind
Not
of
even close. Yeah,
exploring,
you
yeah,
can
as
put
we're
it.
kind
You can cross away a few zeros there. Yeah,
yeah, exactly.
more than one. Yeah.
Though it would be fun, it would be fun to do that, but it's just the reality of it. So
Yeah.
yeah. So I think, as a way in just to this, I just thought like, we are in a time where, the 20s are obviously supposed to be about accumulating and finding your way. We met in business school. The 30s are about finding your career, landing on some kind of notion, accumulating some kind of wealth. The 40s, you have your kids, you have your house, you have a car, and the traditional tension I always find among my group, and I'm curious about yours, is that the goalposts keep moving for them. It's like what was supposed to be enough or absurd is now like, wait, I can get more, or I can do more, and I can do more. And I want to pause there first and ask you, is that something that you're seeing or have experienced across your group?
I mean, you brought up a few things here, right? The first one, I mean, I just also kind of want to deep dive on the cultural notion
Mm,
that you made, and the difference between Americans and Europeans in general. And I guess you could generalize this. I'm wondering if there's any kind of statistic about this, in fact, but that would be really interesting. But we can maybe look it up later and then share. I guess it's true in a sense, but maybe it's also a bit more not so much culturally, or it's like the system. I think capitalism is purer in a sense in the US, and you also maybe have to make it more to feel safety, because a lot of safety is provided in most of the European states, by the social welfare and stuff like this. Um, yeah, maybe it's also easier to enjoy life in Europe with less money. to be very honest.
No,
And that's kind
I would
of it.
agree.
But I don't know, it's interesting. That one's interesting. But yes, I mean, the question, what is enough? When you said 100 million and 2 billion, I was like, if I had 100 million, fuck this shit, man, I'm out. And I guess really, I mean, I don't want to shortcut this conversation, but if I had 10, I'd do the same. And so what I do realize for myself, and I don't want to speak too much about my group, that yes, the goalpost is always moving, and
Mm,
one of the things I am eternally guilty for is the grass is always green, and I've said this before,
uh,
which means there is always more, right? And the problem about having, especially I think, materialistic goals is that once you have achieved them, you want something else or the next thing. And
mm,
it's the way it is. It's the way it is. And so it is, the goalpost is always moving, which kind of means you never really advance. And so there is something there. That's, at least that's my perception of it. And I feel with a lot of people, not all, some in my bracket are kind of realizing this and are like, hey, wait a second, the goalpost has actually moved to a point where I'm much better off than maybe, my parents were.
yeah,
Uh, I'm still not happy what's going on. Most of the time, that's people who also went through personal stuff, maybe relatives or parents dying, a divorce, shit like this that makes you think. And when you start thinking about this, you start thinking about how you spend your time. And now I'm closing the loop to what you said, right? That marginal cost that it has on your life when you
mm,
go from income level A to B. And now you can define, you said is from 10, from 100 to a billion. I think, most of our listeners, I don't think can relate, neither can I.
nor can I.
But I can say,
I thought it was funny
going
though.
from X 100,000 to, X times 400,000, for example, that's a lot of work you have to put in. So, and I can relate to that 100%.
Yeah, yeah. That resonates, and
How
well,
does it,
and it's
how did it change for you? Or did anything change, or how is that? I mean,
think like one thing I've observed is that for many who have experienced this kind of goalpost phenomenon, of it keep moving and moving and moving, they who are totally capable of having a few extra zeros in their bank account have taken their feet off the gas.
really,
Totally.
like
Across
me.
my friendship there. Yeah, maybe, yeah, well,
Also, I
totally.
guess
No,
to
no,
a
it's
certain
not
extent,
it's
also
not a
myself. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, I would totally put you in that camp. And very close friends of mine who are, I mean, they're fine. It's not like that. They're like they're the wisdom of knowing it's not worth it for them
Yeah,
is the
is
marginal
amazing.
cost is
Yeah.
is so liberating.
You know, there is, and I know you also looked something up, but I want to share this with you because I read it today and I thought it's such an interesting story. I'm sure you remember that study out there, and that we've also learned, and I think even in university or at the MBA, that from a certain level of income onwards, happiness doesn't increase
Oh my god,
anymore.
we're gonna quote the same one. Yes. I
But
think it was,
listen,
go ahead.
Kahneman, it was in fact Kahneman who wrote this amazing book, Thinking Fast and Slow, and got a Nobel
Mm,
Prize for it,
mhm.
which is a book that I've never managed to read because it's so fucking dense. But it basically,
It's
for
on
every,
my bookshelf. I was looking at it today. I was like, I
no,
should read that.
it is really. So I think I got to page 56 and then I had to shoot myself. But basically, it's about, it's about the limbic system and our, the more reptile brain and the more thinking brain, and later developed. And the really interesting thing about it, which why I want to read it, is actually the effect on it's on behaviors, and it was the
Mm,
foundation of behavioral science, and also how we do marketing and stuff like this.
mm.
Anyways, this guy did this study. Only that 10 years later, another guy came around who did a similar study where he used an app and polled, I think, 30, 40,000 people, across a longer time span, and asked them, were you happy during the day or not? And from this then inferred that actually quite the opposite was true, that the more money you have, the happier you are. And then something very interesting happened. I don't know if you got that far also in your research. They came together and said, "Hey, let's settle this shit." So they did kind of like an academia show off, and they got a third person in, and they kind of reviewed all their data, and then they had a finding, which I don't know if that's the same finding that you found out with your research. Is that,
I'm on the edge of my seat. What was the finding?
here we go. The finding was actually the following: that for a certain amount of the population, about 15%, the chronically unhappy people, right?
Mhm.
They actually don't get happier beyond $100,000, which was the equivalent of the 75 10 years ago. So, I
Yep.
mean,
Yep.
below 100K, every increment really does something. But these people are so fucking miserable.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm
there's
saying
nothing
this
that can help them.
jokingly. It actually, most of them, I think, are you know, they have a disease. I mean, they suffer from depression and stuff. So it's not to make fun of. And then I would say the fat middle, about 55 to 60%, normally happy people, actually their level of happiness increases linearly with how much money they have.
Mm.
Okay. And then there's actually very happy people. It's like people who are like just generally fucking floating through life. And they actually get exponentially happier the more money they have, because because they're not worried about the things that come with it. They see it as an opportunity to really to fulfill their dreams and wishes and to really contribute and do
Mm.
something in this world.
Mm.
And now comes a big caveat, and I was really surprised about this. And I
Mm.
asked my Gemini, it's like, are you really sure? I went to another tool. I said, I mean, I can double check this. And the other tool then told me the caveat of all of this is there is correlation, so it's scientifically and statistically proven. However, the difference between an income of 15,000 and an income, and now I have to lie, but I think it was 100,000 or maybe 200 or 500,000, is only 5 points on a scale of 100.
Wow.
So it
Really?
makes you happier. Technically, that's true. The statement "more money makes you happier" is true, but more money only makes you 1% happier. Just to put it into some numbers, and not 100% happier. There are other factors, that's the next meaning of it, that have a much higher influence on your happiness than money. So yes, more is better and makes you happier, but you move from an 88 to an 89. Congrats. While if you probably spent more time with your parents or your kids, you would move from an 88 to a 95. That's kind of the whole takeaway
Do
from
you
this.
actually think that if you spend more time with your parents and your kids, are going to move from an 88 to a 95?
No. Then the question is also, when do you measure happiness, right? On the
Yeah,
deathbed,
exactly.
right? And
Yeah.
looking back, or in the exact moment, like the moment
You
we
should
had
measure my
before when,
happiness
when
at
you had to
5:30 in
carry
the
out your
morning.
crying kid out of the room who didn't want to leave, right?
Yeah,
Thanks for that
exactly.
extra time. That increased my happiness by minus 25 points. No, sorry, that was a very long thing, but I thought it's interesting. So, takeaways, yes, more money makes you happy. But point number 2, it doesn't really matter because there are other things that have a higher
Okay.
impact on that.
However, I think here's an interesting idea. Sure, of course. Look, if you're miserable in your marriage and your kids are assholes and your job sucks, like yeah, more money will like it's better to correct that than give you more money. That I buy 100%. However, if all those are in order and you gave me, a 7-0 check as a lifestyle on an annual factor, I would be guarantee you I would be very happy and happier. Um,
Yeah.
Not that I'm unhappy. I'm just telling you, like, I'd just be
And
like,
that's not
"Oh,
untrue. And that is not untrue. However, um, I think there's two things that are true for me. So one is I would absolutely lie if I said that I never think about money. To the point where I can tell you, if I can't sleep and I want to think about something nice, I think about what I would do with 5 million euros.
really?
Yeah,
That's your fall
can.
asleep dream?"
Yeah, no, one of
Wow.
many. Yeah, one of many. But I could. So I don't. I'm not afraid to admit that. Yeah. So it is something that is on my mind, and I think about how, I can make more, and I think it takes up an undue amount of headspace, even in my
Mm.
very, very privileged situation that I'm in. Very. Um, However, I also know and have realized for myself that if I now, and I know, and luckily the way my career went, I would have options to go out there and kill it and make lots of it and maybe make those dreams that I have at night on my pillow true. But the cost it would have on my life right now are tremendous. And you know what I always say to you, and I said, the most perishable thing in my life is the age of my kids. With my 11-year-old, I basically already have the goodbye phase, which is very sweet, but I know it will come to an abrupt end and go over the cliff and end in terrible puberty. So the oldest one is already basically, he's gonna turn 12. By 12 you have spent 80% of your time with your kids, blah blah blah. We've talked about this
I
and
know.
so on. So I'm already basically through with a third, almost to 25% of the time with my kids. I see that, and I don't see how more money is gonna make up for that. While I am living a life right now that is beautiful, where I can go skiing for 3 days and have fun like this. So, man, what is it that is more? Is it
Mm.
that you're going for a more expensive vacation? That you're going, for a more expensive watch, a nicer car?
Wait,
Because
can you take us into your
yeah.
$5 million dream for a second? I'm just curious.
It varies, man. It varies. It varies
Okay.
from when I was into cars. How would my dream garage look like? What would be the
Yeah.
5 cars I would buy?
Okay.
How would the house would look like my dream house, and where would it be? Shit like this.
Mm. Mm.
Nothing crazy. Sometimes it
Got it.
gets a bit more professional, where I think, which percentage would I put into what asset class? What do I need to get a certain passive income? So, how my brain works.
That's when I need. That's when I need you by my side. Exactly. Okay. So I have a different. This conversation is actually giving me a bit of an insight. So I think if you're clearer on your purpose is the wrong word, on the kind of impact that you want to have that transcends just raising a good family and living a good life, nothing wrong with that. I think more money is very useful. So for example,
Absolutely.
if I wanted to bring more creativity out in the world, I wanted to buy a bunch of art galleries, or I wanted to elevate artists, for example, which I think are really suffering in New York, and they're being pushed further and further out as much as the city gets more unaffordable. Look, if I had 5 mil, for sure, I'm going to build some kick-ass artists, and like that kind of, it's like philanthropy, but like about shit I care about versus giving it away, which is a lot of fun. But I think what I wouldn't do is look, what I don't, and probably because I don't have it, is like I don't covet the yacht and but I do. I want to hang out in Saint Tropez and eat the great restaurants, but I don't need the full. But as a guest in that lifestyle versus the lifestyle, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I fully understand what you mean. But I think the question you asked before is, is right when you say, how much are you willing to give to get to that?
Mm.
Right?
Mhm.
Because you're not there now, right? And
No.
clearly, yes, if you want to have an impact and do amazing, also philanthropic work, awesome, right? But how much are you willing to give up your family, your friends, your
No.
health, in order to support artists? Sorry, that's a very that's a very pointy thing. It's awesome
No,
to
but
be able to
that's
do
the right
this, right?
question. That's the right question.
Yeah.
Totally. The answer is not right now. No. And honestly, the only way I'm doing that in my current trajectory is if I get lucky.
Same
My
here.
ideas are my
Same here.
projects. Exactly. So it's just,
Same
and by
here.
the way,
Same here.
a lot of people who have extra zeros, luck is part of their story. So,
Absolutely. And you know what I have seen, though, because you asked me before about moving the goalpost. Yes, actually, I've seen it a lot, especially in this whole consulting environment where people make an extraordinary amount of money,
mm,
and the goalposts have just moved, and
mm,
they just go, and they just do more more of the same shit, but more expensive.
mm, mhm.
That's kind of, and I don't know, that's kind of like besides the point to me.
I agree.
I'm also guilty of that, by the way.
I
I'm
know.
also guilty of that.
I know.
So, um, so I'm not saying like but I'm trying not to be. And yeah, well, I have
well,
another interesting one, but yeah,
lifestyle creep is a thing, right? The more money you make,
lifestyle creep is a thing. Absolutely,
exactly.
100%.
Your expenses keep up with that. Um, but it's hearing you speak. So, like, it's really thoughtful because actually you have to be clarity of what you're not willing to give up, which is interesting. And by the way, this is all rooted in the self belief that we can, if we want to, which is also very funny. Just to call
It's
it out.
true.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
no, as we both said before, to a certain extent, I think we can.
yeah. Yeah, I agree.
But to go to that, lifetime wealth or even generation wealth is a requires an immense amount of work and luck. And
It's true.
I think what we see, what I see, is that I can have a pretty decent life with a pretty decent amount of input that also fulfills me. Both and if I double that, I think I can also double what I make, or maybe triple what I make, if you want, when we are there. But also, I don't have more time. And what is
Mm,
worth more, time or money? And I think that's where we are. And when it gets really interesting, where you read very often that you should use what is one of the good uses of money: to buy yourself time.
totally. Well, here's an idea. Stop giving it away. Um, in service of buying, that's the circle, right? Instead of trying to make enough money to
Yeah,
buy yourself time, stop giving whatever it is that you already have away, which is
exactly. And that's exactly the circle.
yeah.
Yeah.
Can I just call something out, and then I want to hear one of your fancy stats. I just think this conversation is showing me, hey, in the end, Mark and Paul are betting on luck.
Um, I think I'm kind of betting on myself, and I have to
No, that
admit that
too.
that also every time it's also a topic I tend to run away from, to be honest, because I know in the house, and we're now talking about very philosophically about what is enough, and then though is I think that there's a big question that maybe we should address in a different podcast of how you manage it then, right? How do
That's
you
right.
manage money in a relationship, or in a marriage? How do you handle, how much do you save? What do you do? How X, Y, Z? So there's, I think, lots of hows to it. How do you budget? Topic that I hate and always hide
I hate
from,
budgeting. No.
etc. So I'm really actually not personally, I think, not doing a great job and running away from this. But as I thought about this, I thought I should do a few things differently. But now the funny story is, half a year ago, so a good friend of mine, Thomas, and he's never going to listen to this, so I'm going to bitch about him a little bit. He gave me this, we had a few nice conversations, one of my dearest friends, and he said, I just read this book, which is called The 5 Types of Wealth. You should read it, because lots of the
Oh.
things you talk about are actually in
Mm.
there. So it's been on my bookshelf, and funnily enough, beginning of the year, I guess because I had finished the book I had read all year and didn't finish on my vacation, and I was like, I need another book. I went to my bookshelf. It was January, all the resolutions and shit, and I saw this book. I was like, maybe it's time I finally read this. So yesterday night, I come home. I think, I need to do something different in my life because I was
Yeah.
drinking for 3 nights. So I'm reading this
Yeah.
book. So I'm going through it, and I'm going through the intro, and going through the table of contents, and it says, the 5 types of wealth, and the last one is financial wealth. I was like, oh, that's interesting. So let's go and read this. So I read this for today, and actually it summarizes everything we've been saying in a very, very nice way. And what I find really interesting is the answer of when is enough. And he talks about the lifestyle creep and the moving goalpost, and he's like, one of the most important things is to sit down and think and define for yourself what is enough,
Mm.
and write it down. What's the type of house you want to live in? What do you want to do on a random Tuesday afternoon? Tap 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 tap. Right, and then basically there is 5 levels of wealth in achieving that. Right, the
So
first one
yeah,
is
the Tuesday
basically
afternoon
just
thing is one of the most classic. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Tuesday afternoon, and there's I mean, guys and girls, read the book. It's amazing, and he's like, there's 5 levels in achieving that. Right, the first one is basically bare survival. The second one is, you have enough money to buy you some little stuff, small luxuries, like going out for dinner. The third one is like, all these things are not top of your mind. You have securities, probably where we are in a sense, right? The fourth one is moderate independence, when you have passive income that covers some expenses. And the last one is complete independence, where you have passive income that exceeds all expenses, right? And so you're kind of trying to work yourself towards that. And then he describes strategies, and we're not going to go into this, but I found this so simple, because in the
Mm.
end, we're setting ourselves goals for so many things in life, right? And in a sense, we also do for the money thing, but I don't think in a structured way like this.
Oh, hold on. I just want to say that since he's just chilling out, and
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's my son Valentine, little readers who woke up from a nap and interrupt Daddy's podcast time. Um, I think the exploration. What are the other 5 versions of wealth? Because the exploration of financial wealth and that exercise, I think, is profound. And you know what I suggest we do for our next podcast is we write down our Tuesday and come back next week and share it.
Love to do that. Yeah, I think it's time, it's social wealth, right? It's health, and so yes, health is physical wealth, basically. Social wealth is connection, mental peace and presence, and then it's financial.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing is he has
4 out of 5.
financial,
That's great.
and he has financial in the last one, as a last one, because he says the financial wealth is there to support all the others. That's
I
the
agree with
actual
that fully.
purpose of
Yeah,
it, right?
of
To
course.
buy yourself health, time, connection, etc., etc. So I really love this, and it actually is a great
Mm.
summary. And I don't want to say it's the only truth, but it really resonated with me
Mm.
as a great summary. And I don't know what is enough for me. That's what I kind of thought, and that's what I meant in the beginning, was that it made me think, the research for this episode. It's because you grow up with this dream, you always wanted to have a Porsche. I bought myself an old Porsche when I turned 40. Great, right? Did it make me happier? No. Do I want to sell it? Also no. But but mainly because my kids really love it. And they love, they love going around in it
I
with
still wanna
me.
ride in
And
that thing. I mean,
yeah,
that's not,
we
I feel
can,
like
and it's a beautiful piece of art almost, right? I mean,
yeah.
so, but did it make me happier? Is it gonna make me sad if I sell this? No. So, and is it a watch that I need? I really no. So to really think about the things you really need, that matter to you, that align with your values, that really resonated with me. And I gotta say, sometimes we think about the small things way more than about the big things, and that's a big fallacy of
Mm.
us.
Mm.
We think about what we need to achieve and the weight we need to have, and some stupid shit, what goals we need to achieve in 26, but none of the big stuff. So that's kind of what stayed with me.
Would you rather have another Porsche or get a
Or Ferrari.
pick a
No,
Ferrari
no,
or
no.
go on a 2-month-long trip, like bougie trip in Japan?
The second, I mean, to the point where I thought for a long time that, listen, if I didn't find the work and the income I needed to, I always have my Porsche and I can sell it and I can live with it for a year, and I would even finance just a normal year where I have time to grow and to find my a passion project or something I want to do for it. Yeah. So
Mm,
yes.
mm, mm. That's cool. That's actually quite revealing. It's funny. Yeah.
Yeah. Although I hope it never gets to that, because I think it's going to be a tough
No.
moment.
I don't wish it would.
I admit to that as well. Yeah.
And just to close this, we'll come back to it. But is there a number that you have in your mind?
10.
That's mine. Literally,
Yeah.
that's mine. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's also statistical evidence for that, and in a sense, right? Because you can, with passive income, afford a certain lifestyle that is, the upper middle class in our respective countries. I think you might need a little bit more than I do, in fact.
Thank
in
you
New
for
York.
that. Yeah. That's right.
And
That's,
that way you can buy a house and stuff like this. And that's level 5. That's the level 5 we described before, where you have all your needs and all your expenses are actually covered and you don't have to work. That is, yeah. So I think you can do it with much less if your lifestyle is simpler. Yeah, you say you move to a cheap country and whatnot, but we're not. Our kids are here and stuff, and yeah.
And our podcast started in Paris drinking Burgundy. So, like, I mean,
let's not fucking kid ourselves.
Yeah.
and we no. Yeah, and in a sense, I did this. I mean, I did this last year when I thought, there are some things like I like to go skiing, and skiing is a very expensive hobby. And I just realized that actually my winters are much more expensive than my summers, like by a big X factor,
by the way,
my friend.
And you're skiing at a discount because you're skiing in Lech. What's the ski ticket in Lech?
Dude, I bought a season pass for 779 euros.
Okay, fine.
Season.
But a day,
85,
which is nothing.
I think
That's nothing, dude.
Nothing.
Whatever.
It's nothing. You can ski for 2 or 3 days in the US.
Yeah, exactly. I think they all.
But at a discount is still a bit of a steep comment.
Yeah. They're fine,
Yeah.
but
But anyways, man, that's a great episode with lots of, I think, lots of
I had a lot of fun.
to comes. I had lots of fun too, and I think we really have a few things we still need to be talked about on the money topic, man.
100%. Man,
We
I
do
don't
one
think that's a
episode, guys,
conversation
gonna
that
be
ends.
so sexy about budgets. I'm gonna
We
tell
should
you
get it. We should
everything
get
about
our.
budget.
You know what we should do? We should get our respective accountants on.
They would kill me. They would charge me like thousands, to spend
Yeah.
another half hour with me.
To deal with your stuff. I can imagine.
Exactly. Exactly. Listen, man. But I mean, true to our traditions, can we do a quick Terminator and Idiot of the Week?
Absolutely. I think you should go first, and then I have a good ones.
Okay, I have my idiot is actually, and it is a very champagne problem one, but I was in basically a club on the weekend, and there's always these men that are trying to shove you around and being the strong guy and try to pick a fight. Dude, and there was more than one situation where things nearly got out of hand because of just some fucking idiots. Really idiots. You can't hold a drink, don't do it.
That is my idiot of the week. Funny enough,
No,
I had a guy.
no.
Oh yeah, no.
No, you
I was at a restaurant. I was a restaurant. I wasn't in a club, but I was in a restaurant, and some guy, tough guy, was yelling at me because he didn't feel like I held the door open enough for the girls he was with. He's like, "Hey man, get some manners, right?" Right? And I was like, I just snapped at him. I was just like,
Yeah.
"Are you serious?" Right? I was just like, I really just pushed it open for him, and I think he was just trying to be really tough in front of these girls, and and it was just the
Jesus.
Yeah, I know. It was
So
just
how funny is this? It's so similar, man. We are
yeah.
brothers.
It was just like
We are brothers.
We was just trying to show
We
off
really
in front of
didn't
these
talk
girls.
about this.
Yeah, it's funny when you talk about that.
Same is true there, but in a much more drunken manner and in a really violent one.
Oh,
So
I'm sure you had
stupid.
to tone it down. Can I give another idiot
Yeah. Go ahead.
just for the fun? Have you seen the African Nations final? Imagine a guy, poor. I'm sorry if anyone listening to this is Moroccan. The poor guy with the last kick of the game. I forgot his name. The Moroccan player. Last kick wins a penalty, attempts a panenka, and just literally kicks the ball softly into the goalkeeper's hands. It's the biggest.
Are you kidding me? Why in the world would you do that?
You have to watch it. You'll be shocked. It's not even remotely a good one. It was like the whole nation. It's in Rabat. It's
but
like
it
in
is
the capital.
It is like ballsy.
Yeah,
you gotta say that.
Yeah, I mean
that is going for the moonshot.
But it's not even a great one. It's not Zidane, in the final against Italy. This is not a. This is a lob.
Obviously, it wasn't great. Otherwise, it would have worked, right?
Yeah, so, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, Wayne, that is a great idiot, man. Great idiot.
That's a good one.
Any Terminators? You have a good Terminator?
Related, actually, the Senegalese place was popping around my corner, and I just got to say, there's something about Senegal won. I guess that was the whole idea. Not to make this a sports thing, but the way you just reminded these little micro communities in New York. You're like, wait, there's a Senegalese place, and then it's like, what's all this crowd here? Then suddenly,
bam.
Bananas, and the goal that won it was like top shelf, world class. Oh yeah, screamer. Yeah.
Nice.
All our listeners, do yourself a favor and check out.
I'm gonna
highlights.
watch this.
And that was pure cinema.
I have a related Terminator, which is a bit of a product placement in a sense, because I want a big shout out. There's a group of entrepreneurs and people working hard in Vienna in a company that I've been working with a little bit. It's called Fruits. Froots, and their mission is actually to get more people into long-term lifetime saving and to enable that at a very low cost. And I think it's great, and we're going to talk about maybe next time in one of our next episodes, because to reach that level 5 that we talked about, that's a super important thing, and something I have personally started way too late to use the power of compound interest. And so those guys are doing a cool job, really, really cool job. So check it out if you think of where you put your the extra free cash flow that you might have, and even if it's just $25 a month, there's something you can save and make work for you.
I love that. financial literacy for 2026. Let's go.
It is
We still need
exactly
it,
that.
actually. Yeah, yeah. We
Very
need that.
much so. Very much so. My friend, this was super fun. Thank you. And also thank you, Valentin Bruno, for being such a cool co-host
Yeah, did you
today. I
know your
love
Uncle
this
Paul gave you your middle name? Did you know that?
because it's the coolest name, man. And you are also really sporting it. I like it. You pull it
Mhm.
off. You can pull it off. Ciao, Mark. Have fun. Huh?
Ciao,
Have a great
Paul.
day.
Bye.